I'm Dr. Bob Bulat. I work in the Division of Gastroenterology and the Neurogastroenterology group at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. My specialty is neurogastroenterology, which deals with disorders of the gut that come from abnormalities of the nerves that control gut movement and gut sensation. I'm originally from Canada, and I did most of my medical training in a place called Hamilton, Ontario, McMaster University, and some time at University of Toronto. But I'm from a small city in northern Ontario, just north of Michigan, called Sault Ste. Marie. And it's basically right on the edge of the Canadian Shield wilderness area. I get up there whenever I can. And I worked in Canada for a few years, and I got a faculty job at Tulane University in New Orleans. I spent 19 years in New Orleans. And that was a real culture shock because it's hot all the time. And the food was really good, and the music was great. And then I got an opportunity to come up to Hopkins, which is an excellent, obviously a world-famous, excellent institution, to work with some people I already knew and I had a lot of respect for. And it's been a great experience being up here. So now I'm trying to transition myself back to Baltimore. And the way come to Baltimore is like going back to my roots, because the places I've all grown up in have all been seaport towns and immigrant communities, and basically, Baltimore looks very, very familiar in a lot of ways. I actually knew people in my hometown who went to work in Baltimore at the steel mills when they were still functioning here. So there's a bit of closing of a circle. Presently, the research that I'm involved in is contributing to a group called the Gastroparesis Consortium. That's a number of academic medical centers in the United States that are collecting data on patients who have a condition called gastroparesis and gastroparesis-like syndrome. And we're collecting information on those patients to help us devise clinical trials to help treat these disorders, as well as to help us understand the fundamental reasons why these disorders happen. From a pretty early age, I decided I wanted to go into medicine, and I wound up doing basic science research. I did a master's and a PhD looking at the fundamental reasons why the muscle of the gut and muscle of the reproductive tract works the way it does. And from there, it was pretty natural for me to want to go into medicine and try to apply what I learned in the lab. And gastroenterology was the field that made the most sense to me. And I was able to look at all the things that we did in the lab back in the 70s and 80s and see how things had progressed to try to apply some of these in treatment of patients. It's very gratifying to be able to do that. We get patients here at Johns Hopkins from the immediate community, as well as from the region, from around the country, and from around the world too. And everybody shares one thing. They've got a problem that has been dealt with by physicians and without a lot of success, because the disorders are not that common, and most physicians do not have the experience and training to be able to deal with these conditions on a long-term basis. So a lot of these patients come to us, and everybody's got a story, and they've also got a stack of medical records, and we go through that with the patient while they're in the room, and we ask them their story, and we probe with some questions to steer them to certain directions that we'd like to know about more information. But basically, the patient's got to tell us a story. And once we've got the story, then we can formulate an idea of what we think is going on and why, and what we're going to try to do about it. And that requires a lot of listening and a lot of feedback with these patients. So we initiate a treatment plan, and we make sure those patients are in touch with us electronically if they can't come back to see us quickly in person. And from there, we try to make them better. I mean, that's a simple view of how it works, but that's basically how the process works. The most rewarding thing is having a patient who didn't think there was any hope and being able to tell them that there is hope. Because quite frequently they're told there's nothing we can do for you, or we don't know what's going on, or we know what's going on, but there are no treatments. And then they come in and we say to them, well, there are a bunch of treatment options, and here they are. And there are a lot of options that are there for them, of which they were not previously aware. And the most gratifying thing is to be able to tell a patient that, yeah, there's something we can do to help you.